Clara stood before the old Victorian house as the evening shadows stretched long across the cracked sidewalk. She adjusted her glasses, peering at the ornate gingerbread trim and peeling paint, a wholesome yet eerie relic of a family history she barely knew. Having inherited this ancestral home from her estranged uncle, she felt an undeniable pull, a mixture of nostalgia and skepticism as she stepped through the threshold. The door creaked, as if it were groaning at the sudden intrusion. Inside, the air felt thick and heavy, laden with the whispers of secrets long buried. Dust hung like a veil, glistening in the fading light, and Clara could almost hear the echo of laughter trapped within the walls. But there was something unsettling about the silence. It wrapped around her like a thick fog, binding her with an unshakable sense of unease. As night fell, the house transformed. Shadows danced in the corners, and the stillness turned electric. Clara couldn't shake the feeling that she was not alone. Lying in bed, she first dismissed the soft, rhythmic footsteps echoing in the hallway as figments of her imagination ignited by exhaustion. But as they persisted night after night, they became an unsettling lullaby, a haunting rhythm that gnawed at the corners of her mind. Determined to learn more about her uncle and the house that had become her burden, Clara explored the attic. The air grew cooler as she climbed the narrow staircase, the wooden steps creaking underfoot. She found a trunk buried beneath a mountain of old linens, its dusty exterior hinting at years of neglect. Inside lay a trove of forgotten memories, yellowed letters and faded photographs that whispered stories of a life lived in shadows. Among them, one letter caught her eye. It spoke of family secrets, hints of a darkness that had seeped into the Smith legacy, a hint of something horrific that had unfolded in this very house. Clara's heart raced as she read hurriedly through the pages, the words blurring together as each line revealed a sentiment too terrifying to digest. Each revelation left her feeling hollow, as if the house itself was mocking her naive assumptions about her family. Driven by a mixture of curiosity and dread, she began tracing the outlines of the strange blueprints she'd found. In the corner of her uncle's portfolio, a peculiar wall was marked, one that did not match the house's current layout. She approached it, running her fingers along the surface. The air felt thick with anticipation, and the vibrations of the footsteps became increasingly pronounced, as if they were gathering their momentum. Suddenly the floorboards creaked behind her, a warning of an unseen presence lurking just beyond her reach. With a racing heart, Clara turned, but the hallway remained empty, darkness swallowing the light that fought to penetrate the gloom. It was becoming clear the house was alive with the secrets of its past, keeping its stories wrapped tightly beneath layers of dust and silence. What had her uncle hidden within these walls? Was she now trapped in a footstep's whisper, destined to learn the dark truths that had never truly left? Clara stood frozen in the attic, the trunk beside her and whispers of footsteps swirling in the corners of her mind. She had come too close to the truth, and it stirred something deep within her. Suddenly the door to the attic swung open. Clara flinched and spun around. A young man with dishevelled hair and a wary expression poked his head in. "Clara, you up here?" His voice was rough. "Yeah, Jeremy," she replied, trying to steady her breathing. I'm looking through old stuff." He stepped in, cautious, glancing at the clutter. "What did you find?" "This letter." Clara held it up. "It talks about family secrets, dark ones." Jeremy frowned. "Secrets? Like what?" "I don't know yet," she said, her voice tightening. "Something happened in this house, something bad." "Great," he grimaced. "Just what we need. More family baggage." Don't you want to know?" Clara pressed. "Do I want to find out my family's some kind of horror story? Not really." He shifted his weight, looking uneasy. "Fine. Just go back downstairs then." She turned back to the trunk, trying to ignore him. "Hey!" he said sharply. "That's not what I meant." Clara snapped. "Then what do you want?" "I want—" He hesitated, shifting on his feet. "To help." "Help? How?" "Just, let's figure this out together. You're not alone here." She looked at him, her anger dimming. "Okay." Clara turned back to the trunk, pulling out a few more letters. They were all riddled with urgency. But then a loud thud echoed through the attic, making both their heads jerk. "What was that?" Jeremy whispered, wide-eyed. "I don't know." Clara's voice trembled. They exchanged glances. "Let's check it out," he said, a mix of determination and fear crossing his face. "No, I want to stay here." She swallowed hard. "We can go through this." Clara." He pulled her arm gently. "That could be important. We can't ignore it." "Fine," she relented, her pulse racing. They crept toward the door. As they stepped into the narrow hallway, Clara motioned for silence, but the footsteps picked up, echoing loudly. "Do you hear that?" Clara whispered. "Yeah, it's right behind us." They exchanged panicked looks, and then Clara turned, following the sound down the dark hallway. The air felt thick. She hesitated, but Jeremy pushed her forward. "It's just the house settling," Clara muttered, trying to convince herself. But the footsteps grew louder, closer. They quickened their pace, heading toward the staircase. Suddenly, the sound stopped. "What the hell?" Jeremy whispered. "Maybe it's gone." But before Clara could breathe, something loud crashed from the room below, rattling the floor beneath them. "Did you see that?" Jeremy shouted, his eyes wide. "No, but we're not sticking around to find out." Clara grasped his hand. "Let's get out of here." They dashed down the stairs, but as they turned the corner into the living room, they froze. The room was in disarray. Furniture was overturned, and a wall clock hung broken. Its hands stopped at midnight. "Who did this?" Jeremy said, directing his gaze around. "It wasn't me," Clara breathed. "I swear." "Then what?" He edged forward but stopped at a noise behind them, a soft scrape that chilled their spines. They turned slowly, and Clara's heart lurched. The shadow loomed larger, skimming across the wall. "Run!" she screamed, dragging Jeremy toward the front door. But the door slammed shut, the wood rattling against the frame. "Why won't it open?" Jeremy shouted, panic rising. "I don't know." Clara pulled at the knob. It wouldn't budge. The shadow grew, spilling over the floor, curling up against their feet. Clara could barely breathe as it darkened the room, chilling her to the bone. "Clara!" Jeremy's voice cracked. "What do we do?" "Stay close." She looked around desperately, searching for something, anything, to defend themselves. The shadow twisted, forming something darker and more solid. Then it spoke in a low, raspy whisper. "You came back." Clara's heart dropped. "Who are you?" "Your family's keeper." "Ooh, what does that mean?" Jeremy shouted, scanning the room for a way out. "Your family's past isn't just a story. It's alive." Clara glanced at Jeremy, who looked horrified. "No, we didn't come here to mess with the past." Too late. The figure moved closer, the air around it thickening. "Tell us how to leave," Clara pleaded, stepping back. "Leave! You are home now. The footsteps will never leave." Then, as suddenly as it appeared, the shadow rushed towards them, sweeping Clara off her feet, pulling her into darkness. "Clara!" Jeremy yelled, reaching for her. A scream echoed through the house, and then silence fell. Clara tumbled into darkness, her scream swallowed by the cold air. Everything felt fluid and strange. She was weightless, and shadows danced around her. "Clara!" Jeremy shouted. His voice echoed, but she couldn't see him. She spun in the dark, disoriented. Then a tug pulled her down. "Help!" Suddenly she crashed onto a hard floor, breath knocked from her lungs. She gasped, trying to breathe in the air that smelled of mildew and decay. She pushed herself up, blinking against a dim light. "Clara! Where are you?" "Here!" she shouted, though it felt like her voice faded. The room around her was small and bare, with peeling walls and an old bulb flickering above. It was a basement. A heavy door leaned against the far wall, splintered and worn. "Jeremy! I'm here!" His voice was closer now. She spotted him across the room, looking just as lost. "Are you okay?" Clara nodded, still trying to catch her breath. "What happened?" "I don't know. That shadow, it just—" "I know," she interrupted. "It felt like it grabbed me." Jeremy stepped closer. "We have to get out." "Yeah." She looked around. "But how?" "Let's check the door." They rushed over. Jeremy pulled on the handle. It didn't budge. "Damn it! Try harder!" He heaved against it with his shoulder, but it held firm. "It's locked. We're stuck." "Great!" Panic clawed at Clara's throat. "What do we do now?" A quiet creak echoed from the corner of the room. Clara turned. A figure emerged from the shadows. "Who's that?" she whispered. Jeremy stepped in front of her. "Stay back!" The figure revealed itself, a frail woman with hollow cheeks and eyes that looked through them. "You shouldn't be here." "Who are you?" Clara asked. "I'm Mary," the woman rasped. "I guard this place." "Guard?" Jeremy scoffed. "When did a basement need a guard?" "Not a basement, a legacy." Mary approached them, her movements slow. "Secrets live here. They can't be ignored." "What secrets?" Clara pressed. "What do you know?" "You're connected, Clara." Mary pointed a bony finger. "Your blood is on these walls." Clara shook her head. "What does that mean?" "Everything." Mary coughed, clutching her throat. "You have to understand what your uncle did." "Uncle?" Clara's thoughts raced. "My uncle isn't here." "He left something behind," Mary said. "Something that can change you." A chill slid down Clara's spine. "What did he do?" But before Mary could answer, a noise broke through the tension. The door rattled and the lights flickered again. "Is someone there?" Jeremy called out. "Run!" Mary screamed. "What? Why?" Clara faltered. "Just run!" The door burst open, revealing a dark figure silhouetted against the hallway. Clara froze. "Clara!" Jeremy shouted, grabbing her hand. "We need to go!" They darted past Mary, but she grabbed Clara's wrist, her grip surprisingly strong. "You must hear!" "Let go!" Clara fought against her, but the shadows erupted. They twisted and writhed, blocking their escape. "Now, Clara!" Mary yelled. "He will come for you!" "Who?" Clara cried. "Your father!" Mary's voice split through the chaos. Clara's breath caught. "What? No!" Jeremy pulled at Clara. "We can't listen to her." "Don't you see?" Mary gasped, desperation in her eyes. "You must know the truth about your family." But the shadows surged forward and Clara felt herself being pulled away. "Let me go!" "Clara!" Jeremy reached for her, but the shadows closed in, swallowing him as well. "Clara!" She screamed his name, and then everything turned black. A loud crash echoed, jolting her awake. Clara was back in the attic, the trunk beside her, but the room looked different. The air was lighter, but the shadows lingered at the corners, watching. "Jeremy," she whispered, fear prickling her skin. The door swung open again, but it wasn't Jeremy. It was a man in a police uniform, looking around anxiously. "Ma'am, are you all right?" Clara scrambled to her feet, grabbing at her clothes. "What happened? Where's Jeremy?" "We got a call," he said, flipping the switch for the light. "We need you to come with us. There's been an incident." Her heart raced. "An incident. There's been a disturbance at the house. We can't find your friend." Clara felt the ground shift beneath her. "What do you mean?" He stepped closer, looking serious. "Stay calm, miss. We don't know if anyone else is here." "Wait," Clara said, shaking her head. "I need to find him." The officer raised his hands. "You can't go back in there. It's not safe." "Stop! You don't understand. We were just here." "Ma'am, I insist." And then Clara caught a glimpse behind him. Shadows in the hallway moved, coiling and wrapping around his ankles. They were still there. They hadn't left. "You don't know what you're dealing with," Clara shouted. The officer turned, eyes widening as he saw what she saw. "Get back! Jeremy!" Clara screamed, but the shadows lunged again. Light flickered, blinding her. The door slammed shut behind the officer, cutting off her view. "Clara!" Through the closed door she could hear Jeremy's voice faintly echoing. But then everything went dark again. A cold fog settled in, and Clara was left alone with the shadows. "Come home," they whispered, and she could feel them closing in, pressing against her. "Don't leave me," she begged. But it was too late. The darkness swallowed her whole. Clara felt the weight of darkness press against her. The air felt alive, swirling with whispers. She tried to move, but the shadows wrapped around her, pulling her deeper. Her lungs burned. "Stop!" she shouted, panic flooding her voice. The shadows pushed harder, constricting her, suffocating her thoughts. In the midst of it, a terrible, raspy voice crawled into her ears. "Welcome home." Suddenly, a blinding light shattered the darkness. "Clara!" It was Jeremy's voice breaking through the chaos. "Where are you?" she screamed. The shadows recoiled, giving her a moment to breathe. Clara gasped, eyes darting around, searching for him. Then she saw him, standing at the foot of the stairs, wide-eyed, panic etched across his face. "Clara, hold on!" He reached out as if he could pull her through the darkness. She felt a surge of strength and fought against the weight holding her down. "Jeremy!" She lunged forward, feeling the shadows slip away. With a final push, she broke free and rushed to him. "Did you see that?" he breathed heavily. "What just happened?" The floor trembled beneath them. They both staggered as the house groaned, as if it were alive, reacting to their presence. A chill ran up Clara's spine. "Get out!" Jeremy shouted, pulling her toward the staircase. "Wait! The officer!" Clara remembered the man in uniform. But the shadows surged again, whipping around them, whispering threats. "Leave! Or lose! No!" Clara's voice rose above the sounds. "We're not leaving." Just then the room erupted in chaos. The trunk flew open, spilling its contents across the attic, letters, photographs and dust. "Clara!" Jeremy pulled her back. "We can't stick around." "No, wait!" She stepped closer to the trunk. "I need to understand. Now's not the time." His voice strained, eyes darting to the encroaching darkness. "I saw something," Clara shouted over the noise, "when I read the letters." Then a loud crash interrupted her. The wall splintered, revealing a hidden door. Light spilled from the cracks, creating an eerie glow. "See?" Clara gestured toward it. "This could be important." Jeremy hesitated. "Or it could be a trap." "I don't care, we need to know what's inside." Before he could protest, Clara rushed to the door, heart pounding. Jeremy followed, glancing nervously at the shadows. "Clara, wait!" he called, but she was already pushing the door open. It swung wide, revealing a small room behind it covered in dust. A single light bulb hung from the ceiling, flickering sporadically. "Is anyone there?" Clara called. Silence answered. They stepped inside, looking around. "What is this place?" Jeremy whispered. "Looks like a storage area." Clara scanned the clutter. Old furniture, boxes, and a small desk piled high with papers. "Check that," Jeremy said, nodding toward the desk. She moved closer and began sifting through the papers. "There has to be something here." Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from the attic above, cutting through the silence. They exchanged worried looks. "What was that?" Jeremy asked, his eyes wide. "I don't know," Clara replied. "I can't focus with all this noise." They both flinched as footsteps creaked overhead, heavy, deliberate. "Clara," Jeremy said, "we need to—" "Listen!" Clara cut him off. "What is that?" They stood still, holding their breath. The footsteps paused, then moved closer, slow and measured. "Who's there?" Clara called out, voice trembling. No response. "Maybe it's the officer," Jeremy suggested, uncertainty in his tone. "Maybe," Clara agreed, but she wasn't convinced. Then the air changed. The shadows grew thicker, swirling around the entrance to the room. "Get back," Clara warned, inching closer to the corner. "Clara, this isn't safe. We need to go." But then the door slammed shut behind them. They jumped, hearts racing. "Great!" Jeremy shouted, banging on the door. "Let us out!" "Stop!" Clara tugged on his arm. "Help me with this!" Together, they pushed against the door, but it held fast. The footsteps grew louder, echoing off the walls. "Clara!" Jeremy hissed. "This isn't happening!" An icy breath brushed Clara's neck. "Now you know," the shadows whispered, merging into a figure. "Who are you?" she cried, stepping back. The figure straightened, a haunting resemblance forming in the light. It was a woman. Familiar. "Mom?" Clara's voice cracked. "Clara." The figure smiled, but it was twisted. "You've returned." "Why? Why are you here?" Clara stumbled back, heart pounding. "Because you need to know the truth." "About what?" Jeremy demanded, edging closer. "Your family," she said, stepping forward. "It's all connected." "Connected? How?" Clara felt her throat tighten. "What did you do?" "Clara, listen." "No!" Clara shouted. "This is madness!" But the shadows pressed in. The figure behind them twisted tighter, angry. "Clara, get away!" Jeremy yelled, pushing her aside. "Jeremy, no!" He lunged at the figure. She dissolved into shadows, swirling around him, pulling him closer. "Jeremy!" Clara screamed. "Don't!" He turned, eyes wide with fear. "Clara, help me! Get out!" Clara shouted. "Run!" But shadows lunged, dragging him to the floor. "Jeremy!" Clara fought to reach him. "Clara!" He grunted, thrashing against the weight of darkness. Then a terrible crack echoed, and the walls began to shudder. "Mom!" Clara cried, her heart pounding against her ribs. "Get him out of there!" The figure's voice echoed in the chaos. "You must understand." "Understand what?" Clara screamed, tears streaming down her face. "Your family's sins must be faced." Suddenly the shadows tightened their grip around Jeremy, a dark form swallowing him whole. Clara lunged forward. "Don't let go," she yelled, reaching for him. But with a final flash of darkness, he disappeared. "Jeremy!" The room froze. "Now you see." The figure faced Clara, a cold smile on her lips. Clara's breath hitched. "What did you do to him?" But the figure only whispered, "Welcome back to your family's legacy." The lights flickered violently, and the door behind Clara groaned under unseen pressure. Shadows swirled at her feet, pulling her down. "Stop!" Clara screamed, fighting against them. "I won't go!" But the darkness answered. "Come home!" The weight of despair crashed over her, and she felt herself slipping. "No, I won't be trapped." And in that moment of desperation, she heard a voice, distant but familiar. "Clara!" The sound drew her in, barely reaching through the darkness. "Clara!" She turned and the shadows closed around her. "Clara!" The darkness swallowed her and she screamed into the void. Then everything went black. The last thing she heard was the echo of footsteps returning home. Clara stood in the pitch black, the air heavy around her, her heart pounding in her chest. The shadow still loomed in her memory, the last words echoing in her ears. She felt disoriented, as if reality had twisted inside out. "Jeremy!" she called, her voice breaking. "Where are you?" Silence answered, thick and ominous. "Jeremy!" Panic bubbled in her throat. She strained against the darkness, searching for any sign of him. "Please!" Footsteps. A chill swept through the air, and she flinched. "Who's there?" The darkness shifted, narrowing into a shape. A moment later, the figure of a man stepped into view. Clara's breath caught. "Clara!" It was Jeremy, but something about him was different. "You came back." Oh, no, you're not him. She backed away, heart racing. Why did you leave? His voice was low, almost pleading. You shouldn't have left. Get back. You're not Jeremy. She shook her head. You're not him. But I am, he said, stepping closer. Wasn't it just us? Just you and me? No, you... Clara felt the walls closing in. You were gone. Gone? He turned away, his shoulders slumping. When he faced her again, his eyes had an unfamiliar glint. No, I'm right here. Where? Her pulse quickened. What happened to you? Don't you remember? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. We were supposed to discover the truth together. Together? She whispered. Yeah. He stepped forward again. The truth about our family. About us. Stop! She raised her hands. This isn't right. Clara, you've always known. His voice twisted, and Clara felt a chill run down her spine. Deep down. No, stop it! The light flickered above, casting eerie shadows. The walls of the room seemed to pulse, inching closer. I need you. Jeremy's form distorted, the edges fading. Come to me. No! Clara shouted. You're not him! He lunged for her, the dark swirling around him. Clara darted to the side, panic flooding her. Get away! The shadows gripped her, pulling her back. She felt their icy breath and fought harder. Let me go! Clara! Jeremy's voice echoed, pleading. Stay! I can't! I have to find you! She twisted, wrenching herself free. Stay! Clara raced forward, heart hammering, searching the darkness. She blinked, desperate. Where are you? Right here, he shouted from behind her. Jeremy? The dark laughed. No! She stumbled but steadied herself. I won't lose you! But the laughter deepened, wrapping around her. Clara! She swung around, searching for him. A snap echoed to her left. Stay close. Don't drift away. Footsteps echoed behind her, louder now. Clara! She turned. Her eyes landed on Jeremy, but he looked different, distant. Clara, he murmured. Jeremy, don't! She reached out. Come back! But he was slipping again. The shadows surged, clinging to her, dragging her down. Help! Clara! He shouted, and in a flash he was gone. Jeremy! Darkness crashed in. The room spun. A scream ripped through her throat, and she fell, tumbling through space, breathless and terrified. Then she landed hard, the cold floor knocking her flat. Clara gasped, blinking against a dim light. She pushed herself up and froze. The atmosphere felt different. The shadows lingered, but they were less aggressive. She was still inside, but where? Jeremy? Her voice trembled. The door creaked open, and a figure stepped in, an older woman with sunken features. Her presence loomed large, overpowering. Who are you? Clara croaked, scrambling backward. The woman studied her, the shadows shifting around her feet. You are the last of the Smiths, Clara. What? Clara shook her head. Where's Jeremy? Jeremy is not here. The woman's voice was cold like granite. He made his choice. Clara stood, taking a daring step forward. What do you mean? Your choice will come too. The woman lifted a bony finger, beckoning her closer. To face your legacy. What legacy? Clara shouted, frustration spilling over. What did my family do? You don't remember. The woman's eyes pierced through the gloom. Your uncle paid a price, one that demands to be repaid. No! Clara felt her breath hitch. He wouldn't. He did. And now it's your turn. Don't say that, Clara shouted. You can't force me. I don't need to, the woman replied. The shadows will choose for you. What do you mean, the shadows? Clara felt the walls closing in. Tell me what's happening here. Everything has consequences. The woman stepped backward, vanishing into the darkness. You'll find the truth, or you'll suffer. Wait. Clara couldn't see her anymore. Come back. Footsteps echoed once again, slowly, methodically. She turned, heart pounding, sweat pooling on her brow. Clara? The voice cut through the darkness. It sounded like Jeremy, but deeper, hollow. Jeremy! She rushed toward it, hope surging. I heard you. Then the laughter returned, mocking, enveloping her. Clara, it whispered, come back home. Stop! Clara screamed, but the laughter amplified and spiraled. It closed around her throat, squeezing. Clara! A sudden blinding light split the room and she squinted against it. Jeremy stepped through, his face twisted in pain. We need to go. What's happening? She cried, stretching her hand toward him. Help me! Before she knew it, the woman raced past Jeremy and lunged for Clara. You must choose! What choice? She shouted, overwhelmed. What choice do I have? You choose to embrace your family's fate or to fight. Fight. The shadows writhed underneath her, and she felt the pull again. I won't lose him. But the woman only shook her head. That choice has already been made. Then a loud crash shattered the room. The floor trembled, and the walls began to split. Clara grabbed the edge of the desk, clutching for stability. What's happening? Clara! Jeremy shouted. We can't stay. Now. What about you? I'll find you. His eyes burned with desperation. No! But the ground split wider. Jeremy was pulled backward into the chaos. Jeremy! Clara lunged, but it was too late. He was gone in an instant, swallowed by the dark. No! Clara screamed, heart-wrenching. Not again! Thunder crashed. Shadows poured from the cracks in the walls. Make your choice, Clara! The woman yelled above the noise. Why? Clara cried. Why are you doing this? The darkness pressed against her, suffocating her voice. Then in one last desperate moment she felt a surge of strength. Clara turned, determined to confront what lay ahead. Bring it on! She shouted into the void. The shadows recoiled, each whisper fading into silence. But she stood alone. The house trembled. Somewhere she heard footsteps, heavy and relentless, and she knew there was no turning back now. Clara! Footsteps echoed closer. Help! She looked ahead. The darkness loomed again. Face it! The woman screamed. The choice was hers, and it was time to decide. But the question remained. Was she ready? And then the world erupted into chaos. The chapter ended with Clara standing at the edge, uncertainty cloaked in darkness, stared down a chasm of secrets waiting to be uncovered. Clara stood at the edge, uncertainty gripping her heart. The darkness pulsed, heavy and thick, waiting for her to decide. She could feel the shadows swirling around her, whispering secrets she dared not hear. Clara! The woman's voice echoed through the chaos. Make your choice. I can't, Clara began, but the shadows tightened their grip, pulling her down into the dark. Then, without warning, a blinding light exploded in front of her, forcing her to squint. The overwhelming brightness chased away the shadows, revealing a scene she barely recognized. A living room from another time, filled with vintage furniture and soft lighting. It was a memory of warmth, a stark contrast to the chilling darkness outside. "What is this?" Clara breathed, stepping cautiously forward. The room felt familiar yet distant. "Clara, you have to come with me." Jeremy's voice cut through the haze, urgent and desperate. "Jeremy!" She turned, relief flooding her. "Where are you?" "I'm here." He appeared, panting as he rushed toward her, his eyes wild. "We need to move." "What about that woman?" Clara pointed behind her, but the room had swallowed the shadow and the woman whole. "Forget her." Jeremy pulled Clara urgently. "There's no time." As they hurried through the now silent room, the air felt charged, thick with tension. Clara glanced around, trying to capture the moment. Old family photos lined the walls, smiling faces she didn't recognize. "What is this place?" Clara asked, bewildered. "It's part of the house," he said, glancing nervously toward the door, "but it's not safe here." Suddenly, the door burst open behind them. A figure stepped in, and Clara froze. It was Mary, the frail woman from before, but she looked different. Her eyes glinted with a terrible knowledge. "You shouldn't be here," Mary rasped, voice shaking. "Why? What do you know?" Clara stepped forward, hands clenched. "I want to understand." But before Mary could answer, the walls trembled, shaking violently. "Clara, we have to go," Jeremy shouted, gripping her arm. "No, I can't leave." She fought against him. "I need answers." Mary's face hardened. "You'll find them, but not here. The truth is lost." "We can't stay," Jeremy urged, pulling her toward the exit. "Now!" With a final frantic look at Mary, Clara relented. They bolted to the door just as it slammed shut. "We can't get out," she cried, pounding on it. But the door wouldn't budge. "Clara," Jeremy said, turning to her, his expression darkening. "We don't know what we're dealing with." "Yes, we do," she insisted, frustration bubbling. "We're fighting for our lives here." "I'm not letting you go again," he stated firmly, eyes locking onto hers. And for a moment, time stood still. The ground quaked again. Dust crumbled from the ceiling. Clara felt a deep sense of despair settle over her. "Clara, please," Jeremy's voice softened. "I need you to trust me." Before she could respond, something shifted in the room. The air thickened, forming shadows that loomed larger than before. "Your family's history cannot remain buried," Mary shouted, echoing the past. "You need to confront it." "Confront what?" Clara yelled back, panic surging. Suddenly, the shadows reared up like a tidal wave, overwhelming the room, and Clara gasped, clutching Jeremy's arm. "Hold on!" he shouted. Just then, Clara felt a surge of energy from deep within her. A light burst forth, illuminating the shadows with a golden glow. "Clara!" Jeremy pulled her into an embrace. "What did you do?" The glow expanded, forcing the darkness back momentarily, revealing a hidden door in the corner. "There! We have to go!" Clara pointed. "No!" Mary screamed. "You don't know what's behind that door!" "We have to take the chance," Clara argued, pushing past the shadows grasping at her. The door creaked open slowly. Clara stepped into a narrow hallway lined with old family portraits. "Clara, wait!" Jeremy shouted, but she moved closer to the portraits, captivated by their gaze. "Who are they?" Clara whispered, tracing her fingers over the names. "What happened to them?" Clara, we're running out of time. He tried to pull her back. The shadows surged again, eyes glinting menacingly. Ignoring him, she continued down the hall until she reached an old desk covered in old letters and documents. "Look at this," she said, flipping through them. "These are family records, lies upon lies." "Clara, that's just more of the past," Jeremy exclaimed, but he was too late. One of the letters slipped from her fingers and crushed underfoot. She frowned, picking it up carefully. "Listen to this." But just then, a loud crash shattered the stillness. The ground rumbled violently, and Jeremy staggered, barely keeping his balance. "Clara, we need to go, now." "Not until I know the truth," she shouted, determined. Then, as if summoned by her defiance, a door at the end of the hallway swung open. Clara felt a strange compulsion to step forward, but Jeremy grabbed her arm. "Don't! It's a trap!" "I need to see," she insisted, tearing herself from his grip. In that moment, Clara stepped inside the new room, drawn by the pull of fate. "Clara!" Jeremy pleaded, watching helplessly. The walls closed in around her. The room flickered with light, revealing a table covered with ancient relics and photographs. "Clara, don't touch anything!" Jeremy shouted from the doorway, but she was entranced. A box caught her eye, ornate and glimmering. As she reached for it, the lid burst open and a white light consumed the room. "Clara!" Jeremy screamed, rushing in, but the blinding light engulfed them both, and then it suddenly stopped. Clara blinked, trying to adjust her eyes, and gasped. They stood in a vast void, the light fading into shadows. But they weren't alone. Figures emerged from the dark. Familiar faces, lost faces, the past clawing back into their reality. Among them was the image of a young man, looking exactly like her uncle. "Clara," he said, eyes wide with an emotion she had never seen. "What's happening?" she shouted, fear gripping her. "Face the truth, Clara," he said, stepping closer. "You must confront what we left behind." "Who are you?" Her heart raced. "We are the remnants of your legacy," he replied, voice steady. "It's time to learn what your family has done." "Where's Jeremy?" Clara felt raw panic. "And what did my family do?" But before anyone could respond, Clara felt the ground tremble violently beneath them. "We're running out of time," Jeremy shouted, now at her side. The shadows twisted together, forming a massive wave that surged forward. "Clara!" her uncle cried, reaching for her. The figures in the void roared. "Choose, Clara! Your destiny awaits." "Right now!" Jeremy yelled, grasping her hand tight. "What should I do?" She felt torn between the shifting shadows and the lingering images of her family's past. The shadows lunged, time slipped away. "Clara!" Jeremy's voice trembled, and then the room imploded, a deafening roar engulfing her. "What did they do?" Clara screamed as they were pulled apart once more. And then it all vanished. Darkness swallowed her whole, and the last thing she heard was the fade of her uncle's voice, echoing a truth she may never understand. "Choose wisely." Clara felt the ground beneath her quake. She gasped, the darkness still swirling around her. Jeremy was gone, and the weight of the void pressed down hard. Echoes of her uncle's voice faded into silence. "Jeremy!" she shouted, panic clawing at her throat. "Clara!" a voice shouted from the dark. Where are you? She turned, searching for him. I'm right here. He stepped closer, emerging from the shadows. Relief flooded her. Thank God, she said, running to him. What just happened? I don't know. It felt like we were swallowed whole. He looked around, cautious. We have to keep moving. Where? Clara looked at the endless dark around them. What if those shadows come back? The shadows are part of this, he said, breathing hard. But we can't just stand here. Then let's find a way out. Clara took a step forward. Clara, a voice echoed from behind her. You have to listen. The voice was familiar. Her uncle's shadowy figure appeared, the outlines wavering as if struggling to maintain form. Stay back, Jeremy shouted, positioning himself protectively in front of Clara. I'm here to help, the figure said. You must confront what you've learned. I don't want to hear any more, Clara snapped. What do you want from us? Clara, her uncle's shadow whispered. You are stronger than you think. You can't ignore your family's past. Enough with the riddles, Jeremy shouted. We need to get out of here. No, you need to understand. Clara stepped forward. What past are you talking about? Secrets buried deep, he said. The truth can change everything. Suddenly, the ground trembled again and cracks appeared beneath them. We don't have time for this, Jeremy shouted. Run! The shadows surged forward, closing in on them. Clara! Her uncle's voice turned urgent. You must embrace what we've left behind. Embrace what? She cried. You're dead. You don't get to dictate anything. Please, he pleaded, don't let this curse follow you. Curse? Clara echoed, confusion in her eyes. Get away from him, Jeremy yelled, stepping protectively beside her. Don't you get it? Clara shouted. He's trying to help. Help? Jeremy laughed bitterly. He's a ghost wrapped in shadows, Clara. To each their own, Clara said, anger rising. This is my family. I need to know. I won't let you, Jeremy roared, grabbing her arm. Before she could react, the ground beneath them broke apart. The walls trembled violently, and the shadows lashed out. Clara! Her uncle screamed as he vanished into the darkness. Jeremy, hold on! Clara shouted, trying to free her arm. The shadows pulled tighter, squeezing around her like a vice. Clara, fight back! Jeremy shouted. Don't let them take you! Then, from the chaos, a blinding light burst forth from the cracks, blinding them both. Clara shielded her eyes, and when she opened them again, she saw a glimpse of a door across the chasm. There! She yelled, pointing. We have to get to that door. No! Jeremy shouted. It's a trap! But the light was too bright. Trust me! Clara yelled, and they both sprinted toward the door. No, Clara! Jeremy shouted as he was pulled back by the shadows. I can't hold... Jeremy! Clara lunged, but was too late. The darkness enveloped him, swallowing him whole. Jeremy! She screamed, despair crashing over her. Then the door swung open, revealing a glistening path beyond it. No! Clara roared at the shadows. You can't have us! And as she stepped through, everything around her shattered. Lights flickered, and a violent wind surged. Clara was pulled into the door, swallowed by the light. When she landed, she found herself in a bright, unfamiliar room. Where am I? She whispered. But as she turned, her heart dropped. A mirror stood against the wall, reflecting not just her. Alongside her, there was a familiar face. Her mother. "Mom," Clara's voice faltered. "Welcome back," her mother said, stepping forward with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "What's going on?" Clara felt her heart race. "Clara, we need to talk about your legacy." Before she could reply, Clara felt the shadows creeping in from around the room. "Mom, no!" she shouted. "Don't let them take you!" But the shadows laughed, twisting around her mother, tightening their grip. "Clara," her mother said, her voice eerily calm, "you have to choose. It's now or never." "Choose what?" Clara pressed, terror filling her chest. "Join us," her mother said, her face beginning to dissolve into darkness. "Join who?" Clara screamed, panic rising. "Your family," her mother whispered, disappearing into shadows, leaving Clara standing alone. A loud crash sounded from behind her. The door slammed shut, sealing her inside. "No!" Clara banged on the door. "Let me out!" And in that moment she realized she was all alone and the darkness was closing in. "Clara!" A voice echoed from within the shadows, haunting and familiar. "Mom!" she whispered, her breath hitching. But the shadows roared back. "Choose wisely." Clara stood, breathing hard, sweat trickling down her back. The shadows writhed around her. The door slammed shut with a deafening bang. She pressed her palms against it, fear crackling in the air. "Mom!" she shouted, her voice raw. "Where are you?" The darkness whispered back, curling around her like smoke. A figure emerged from the shadows, tall and menacing. Clara's heart raced. "Who are you?" she shouted, stepping back. "It's time, Clara," the figure hissed. "Time for what?" "To choose." The figure stretched a hand toward her, the shadows flickering like flames. "No!" Clara stumbled back. "I won't." "Join us." The figure's voice turned softer, almost alluring. "No, I'm not joining anything." She turned to the door, pounding against it. "Let me out!" But the walls seemed to close in. A deep, menacing laugh echoed, reverberating through the room. Clara felt heat rising around her. "Clara!" It was Jeremy's voice. He was back, his face pale, eyes wide. "You're okay, you're safe." "Jeremy!" She rushed to him. "You have to help me." "Help you? Help you with what? This? Don't ever go near this place again." "I don't even know what this place is," Clara shouted, her voice trembling. "But I need to get out of here." "Then let's go." He ran for the door. It wouldn't budge. "No!" Clara grabbed his arm. "We can't leave. We need to find out what this is." "I don't care. They're playing games." Jeremy's eyes darted around. "This is insane." The shadows grew thicker. The air pulsed around them. "Make your choice," the figure boomed, and the walls trembled again. "What choice?" Clara yelled. Suddenly, the figure lunged, and the door splintered open. Light spilled in. Clara squinted against it. "Go!" Jeremy shouted. "Not without knowing." Clara pushed forward, into the light. "Clara, wait!" But she was drawn inside. The room shifted. Everything changed. She was standing in front of her family, smiling faces, cheerful chatter. "Mom," Clara's voice broke again. "Is this real? Clara, come join us." Her mother's figure reached out, beckoning with joy. "Mom, no." Clara shook her head. "This isn't right." And then the room shattered. The sound was deafening. Clara found herself back in darkness. Jeremy gasped beside her. "What just happened?" "Everything," Clara whispered, eyes wide. "Everything has a hold on us. We have to fight." Fight what? Jeremy sounded desperate, pulling away. Your family? What the hell does that even mean? Figure it out, Clara shouted, frustration rising in her chest. It's all connected. Then, without warning, the shadows lunged again, wrapping around them both. Clara felt them pull tighter. Clara, Jeremy cried out. Get away from it! Get off! She screamed. The shadows hissed. The figure reformed, this time closer. You must see the truth. And then something changed. Clara froze. The shadows twisted painfully. Pain lanced through her. No! Clara fell to her knees. The figure leered closer, eyes burning with malice. Clara! Jeremy lunged forward, pushing against the dark. Don't! Clara cried. But then, in a sudden twist of fate, Jeremy grabbed the figure's hand. It shimmered, flickered like faulty light. What are you doing? Clara shouted, fear gripping her. I need to know! Jeremy yelled, his grip tightening. No, you can't. Clara pushed forward, but it was too late. The shadows erupted in chaos. Clara felt a surge of power, and suddenly the shadows pulled away. The figure dissipated. Jeremy fell back, his eyes wide with horror. What did you do? Clara rushed to him. Are you okay? Something isn't right, he said, trembling. The shadows. They're not just shadows. At that moment, a flicker of light surged from the walls, illuminating a terrifying realization. The figure reappeared behind Jeremy, stronger and more menacing. Welcome back, it snarled. Get away from him, Clara yelled, stepping between them. But what she didn't expect changed everything. The figure dissolved, leaving in its wake an orb of darkness, revealing a hidden truth within it. Clara, look, Jeremy's voice broke. Inside the orb, faces appeared. Each one was Clara's family. Their expressions twisted with anger, sadness, and betrayal. What is this? Clara gasped, horror settling in, but before she could react further, the darkness enveloped them again, and the last sound she heard was the voices of her family repeating a single word, echoing endlessly. Choose. Clara felt the air crackle, and the orb of darkness loomed. She glanced at Jeremy, his eyes wide with fear and confusion. Somehow she had to end this once and for all. Whatever you want from us, we won't give in, Clara shouted. You can't control us. Ah, but you already belong to me, the figure snarled, its face shifting into the likeness of her uncle. Your family's choices bind you, Clara. No! Clara felt a rush of anger surge through her. I choose my own path. Focusing on the warmth she felt inside, she reached out, feeling the pulse of light growing stronger, fighting against the shadows threatening to consume her. I won't let you take me or him. The orb flickered as if her words had struck a chord. The faces swirled and distanced themselves. She took a step forward, determination flooding her. In the end, I choose love, Clara shouted, casting aside fear. Love for my family and love for Jeremy. The room shook violently as the light expanded. Shadows shrieked and writhed, desperately trying to hold on to their power. Clara, don't! Jeremy grabbed her arm, but she was resolute. I have to do this, she insisted. For us! With a final surge, she thrust her hand forward, merging her light with the orb. It exploded in a brilliant flash, and for a moment, time felt like it stood still. The darkness howled as it lost its grip. Clara felt warmth surround her, wrapping around her like a protective hug. Slowly, the shadows retreated until they were nothing more than a whisper, fading into the corners of her mind. "Clara!" Jeremy called out, relief flooding his voice. "You did it." As the light dimmed, Clara felt the room shift. They were no longer in the dark void, but standing outside the old Victorian, the sun shining brightly. A sense of peace filled the air. "Is it really over?" she asked, turning to Jeremy. "I think so," he replied, pulling her into a hug. "We're free." Clara smiled through her tears, but shadows still danced in the corners of her mind. "But what about our past? What if it comes back?" "I don't know," Jeremy replied, stepping back to look in her eyes. "But we'll face it together. It's us against the world now." And just as they stood there, a chilling breeze swept through the yard, rustling the trees. Clara shivered as she felt a whisper, light but unmistakable. "Choose wisely." "Did you hear that?" Clara asked, heart racing. Jeremy nodded, concern settling on his face. "Yeah, but whatever it is, we'll handle it together." As they turned to walk away, Clara glanced back at the house one last time. It stood silent, but she knew it held secrets still waiting to be uncovered. "Are you ready?" she asked Jeremy. "I am," he said, determination replacing fear, and with one final look, they stepped into the sunlight, unsure of what awaited them, but certain of the bond they now shared, a bond forged in light and shadows. But as they walked, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was far from over. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next thrilling adventure. This is the moment to show your support for the channel. Press the like button now to feed the algorithm. Don't forget to comment with your reactions and theories about this ending. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to know this story. Don't wait another second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel with these actions. Be one of them.